Jane Holland, costume designer for Cowboy Bebop. Eimer Ni Mhaoldomhnaigh, costume designer for Foundation. Sharon Long, costume designer for The Great. Shiona Turini, costume designer for Insecure. And Isis Mussenden, costume designer for Wheel of Time. Thank you all so much for doing this here. I wanted to start, I'd love to hear from all of you maybe about the motivating factor that you had to become costume designers, that you're obviously all like, you have such great experience in all these different varied projects. And I'd just be so interested to hear that. Shiona, I'd love to start with you and then we could, wrap around.
My background is actually in editorial styling. So when I moved to New York from Bermuda because I wanted to work in fashion, and I started in magazines. So I was at Teen Vogue, Cosmo, W Magazine, and I worked in that capacity for, I think, almost 15 years. And then I started to do music videos. And when I started to do music videos, that's when I started to meet different directors and collaborators in that way. And I actually got a call to see if I would be interested in costume design. So it was, and I was. It wasn't ever the goal when I was younger. I knew that I wanted to work with clothes. I knew I wanted to tell stories through clothing. And I was very open to different challenges and different ways to communicate and to explore and express myself, whether it was editorial, red carpet, music videos, and now costume design. So I am still learning and I love it. And I'm very open to many different challenges. And that's how I got here. And Insecure was my first opportunity to costume design.
Wow, that's amazing. Isis, how about you? What made you want to do this for a career?
Well, I actually grew up in Hollywood. As a kid, I had no connection to the film business, but they always were shooting movies around us. And then I'm the only daughter of 5. So my mother used to sew all my clothes and she taught me to sew when I was younger. And movies were just big in our house. Every Christmas Day was, let's go see the best, the new movie coming out. This is what we did. We ended up 4 of us in the film business out of 5. So, it was kind of just a natural thing. I knew very young that I wanted to be a costume designer. When I was 15, I said to a friend on a movie, that's going to be me someday, because it just was, it was organic. It was making clothes, telling stories, and just watching the film business around me. I wanted to be part of it.
Eimer, how about yourself? Where did you start? What made you want to get into it?
I studied fashion at college and I worked for a while as a fashion designer, but I didn't know that you could work in film. I mean, it was just something very exotic and, there wasn't really, I'm from Ireland and I live near Dublin, and, when I started, make myself sound really old now, but there wasn't really a much of a film industry here, and I went to live in Madrid, and I made some friends who were film students, and I just started helping them, and also fell in love with Pedro Almodóvar's films, and I could just really see that costuming, and also Almodóvar was writing films with incredible roles for women long before it was ever fashionable or long before it was ever talked about, and it really struck a chord with me, and also some of the women, they were older women, they were glamorous, they were strong, they were opinionated, and I was just completely hooked when I saw that. And when I came back to Ireland, the film industry was really just kind of taking off then. And, I just was in the right place at the right time, and I'm still here. So that's it.
That's great. And Sharon, how about yourself?
Well, I have to say, a bit like Eimer, I didn't really think that you could just go into films and be a costume designer. I wanted to do fashion, and I've just always had a love of clothes and history, but I ended up doing illustration at college. And then I became a fashion illustrator for quite a while, and eventually moved, as I was working in fashion as an illustrator, I kind of moved slightly across into styling, and fortuitously I got a job on The Cook, his wife and her lover, and it was because it was Gaultier designing it, and they wanted fashion people, not film people. And the minute that I started doing it, that was the world that I wanted to belong in. It was just a long route round, I always think, because I did, when I, at first think that I wanted to go to college to do theatre. But funnily enough, theatre, I have never worked in theatre, and it has never completely appealed to me, but film and TV does. I don't know why. I mean, obviously a lot of people bridge all of the different disciplines.
Yeah.
And then I've worked slowly. I mean, I've worked in most positions in the department. So it's kind of in a slow journey.
Yeah, it's great. And Jane, last but not least, certainly, how about yourself?
Oh my gosh, the Cook with Beaver's Wife and Her Lover. I mean, I think that was a film that I saw, and it just, I mean, it really is a magic and extraordinary costume experience. I remember that really clearly.
It was quite interesting at the time. I was just doing crowd.
Fantastic. I mean, it really, I mean, I remember it so clearly. It really resonated. I think costume found me is really what happened. At university, I studied science and I did English and drama because really that was my kind of interest and passion. And it took me a while to realise that you can follow your passion. So I did postgrad drama. Really, theatre was the thing that I knew about. Because I'm from New Zealand and, similar to Ireland, probably, our industry was quite small. So I kind of found that there was a film industry by being in a television commercial and kind of looking around and going, I feel like I belong here, and talking to people behind the scenes. So I ended up working, I was always a maker, so I ended up, sort of working on set. The piano was pivotal for me. I was the on-set standby on piano, which was an extraordinary film for the design of it, but also just the actual sort of process of making. And once I had done that job, it was like that was the ultimate that I could ever do on set, and that was time for me to kind of move into the design realm. And I went to Australia, to the Australian Film, Television and Radio School, and from there just sort of, gathered my craft. It comes from people, it comes from character, I'm a traveller, I love different cultures, I'm an immigrant, my kids are Māori. There's like a real sort of like interest in people and culture and expression and identity, and that's why costume is the thing that I ended up in, I think, and character as well, obviously.
Right. Listen, all of you are so incredible, and unfortunately we do have to wrap up because we're out of time, but I just want to thank you all again for doing this. And once again, Jane Holland for Cowboy Bebop, Eimer Ni Mhaoldomhnaigh for Foundation, Sharon Long for The Great, Shiona Turini for Insecure, and Isis Mussenden for The Wheel of Time. All great shows. Thank you again for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.